welcome to episode 39 of Last Turn. It's been a while, folks. I'm Bart, and I'm joined by Evan, as always. How are you doing today?
It's great to be back. I'm great, to answer your question. How are you?
Also great. Yeah, I feel pretty bad because I think it's mostly my fault that we haven't been able to record.
You should feel like garbage.
I do. Don't worry. I feel like the trash in Dr. Boom's basement. So I
Which
mean,
is
just
still probably explosive.
it's of course it is. I mean, if it doesn't explode just on its own, if you light it on fire, it's gonna blow up.
If you sneeze near it.
Yeah, just to, I guess, get the elephant out of the room. I've been in the middle of a move, so it's been tough for me to record, but I'm actually in a new apartment now in New York City, and it's pretty nice.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank you.
You're in the Big Apple.
It is big, for sure. It doesn't summon any Trents, though.
Oh, that is a lot bigger of a deal than it maybe would have been in the past. I was like, oh, whatever. Summon Trents.
Yeah, apparently
They
that's
used
the
to
thing.
be good, and then they nerfed the good one.
Well, they're bringing it back. I mean,
They
they nerfed the good one, and then they still had a bunch of other. I don't know. Sure, it just does everything. I'm like frustrated by that. Anyway, we could talk about that later.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of something. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, Boomsday Project. It's a thing.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I was like really tickled when I learned that they had an entire expansion themed around like Doctor Boom. I thought that was like kind of awesome.
It's brilliant.
It
It's
is. It is.
exactly like the thing that they should do.
It's so like it's wonderful because like from a flavor perspective, from just like a flavor sort of feeling perspective, Doctor Boom is probably some character in Warcraft, but I certainly didn't know about him. I mean, if anything, he might be like a boss somewhere, a minor. I don't know. Somebody write in and tell me what he does. But I think that he like rose to infamy in Hearthstone.
Indeed. I think that a bunch of these characters kind of did that.
But that's awesome that they like leaned into that they had this character that was iconic for like not because they pushed it top down, but because like bottom up they made a good card that got played so much and ended up having a really iconic battle cry and just lots of memes. So they decided to embrace that and make an expansion. I think that's just like brilliant. That's such good engagement with the community.
Yeah, I was gonna say basically exactly what you said about how awesome it is. Whole set based on this one card that is really great. And yeah, the everybody just loved it, and they were like, yeah, we can do this. There's enough here. I'm kind of hoping that they make Boombots an actual card. That was one thing that I always kind of like wanted was a Boombot card in the past. I'm not sure if they. I don't think they're going to do it, but it would be cool if they did that.
No, I feel like that'd be a little too strong.
Cause yeah, it is. It's actually pretty powerful, right? 1 mana for
Yeah.
1/1 that can deal 1 to 4. Like that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, that card
Um,
that card does a lot.
like volatile elemental, I guess, always hits a minion, but like I think costing another mana, that would be a good card. I guess. Well, I guess they're printing something similar.
Yeah, they have the little like the O2s or whatever, or they O1s, I'm not sure.
There's a Goblin Bomb, which is a 1 mana O2 common mech with Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to your opponent.
Right.
I think people are mostly disappointed in it because it can't attack, so it's not easy to make it die.
Yeah, for sure.
But one thing that people I think maybe aren't considering um, is magnetic.
Yeah, that's true. Cheat mechs could be, if there are good magnetic cards, good magnetic payoffs, then cheat mechs are going to be inherently more valuable as a result of that.
Yeah, that's I I know there's like a kind of meh hunter one, hunter mech with magnetic spider bomb.
With Spider Bomb, yeah.
So that's a 3 mana 2/2 and hunter. It's a mech, has magnetic, and it has death rattle destroy random enemy minion. So that means that you can use it as a buff and pay 3 mana to give one of your mechs +2/+2 and death rattle destroy random enemy minion.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I think we can dive a little deeper into the magnetic mechanics a bit later. In
Yeah,
the other Boomsday mechanics. It's like, it's really cool. I mean, obviously we're both super excited about the set for various reasons. But before we dive into it, we thought it would be nice to chat about Witchwood and how that set unfolded, because I think that it's been quite a ride. from the very
Hmm.
beginning to where we're at now. I think that we've seen a lot of archetypes come around, but we've also seen the death of some older archetypes and maybe got to observe just how powerful some of the previous expansions were. So I think it'd be cool to review all of that.
Let's do it.
So
The Witchwood.
at the beginning of the expansion, what did we have? Q Block? Was that like that was the whole set, right?
Yeah, that was because that deck didn't lose anything. There were a bunch of other decks that lost like everything, or enough. Like Tempo Mage was one of the decks that was losing a lot of really good stuff, but not everything. But it also it's like tier 4 or something like that.
Mm,
You could argue it lived, but it didn't really live. But yeah, Q Block just like didn't lose anything at all.
yeah.
I think there was one. Oh yeah, Misters and Mixtures. That was it. That's it.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, which is admittedly a big hit, but that's fine in the context of the rest of the cards that ended up not mattering that much.
well, a card that wound up mattering a lot is Carnivorous Cube itself, right? I mean, that show has shown up in so many different decks. I think that's maybe one of the cards from past set that got to shine more after the Witchwood came out.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point because like when it was initially just in Q Block and it was hard to imagine it being in another deck, but because that card allowed you to either put up an impenetrable barrier or to kill your opponent. That was like that card did basically everything you could need it to do as one of your best defensive and offensive tools.
Yeah, the Possessed Lackey, Void Lord synergy, both of those you can cube either one and be pretty happy. So there's just really clear synergy there.
Yeah, for sure. Or Doomguard. It's the
Yep,
card just did a lot.
clear as day how to use it, and then you have Dark Pact, so it's just like obviously good in that deck.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to go far out of your way to kill it. You actually just get some upside for killing it. You get a lot of upside. It used to be 8 life off of Dark Pact, which was kind of crazy. It gave Q Block like a really unhealthy amount of sustain.
Yeah, that's like anti Healbot's
Yeah,
worth of mana, or worth of health rather, for 1 mana.
yeah, it's pretty insane. And the sacrifice effect was almost never a downside in that deck.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of the expansion, and I think there was also even Paladin, which was maybe like an accident that they created with Call to Arms.
Call to Arms used to be very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason that I think it's still a good card,
Yeah.
but it's obviously less good now, and I think it will get better as the 2-drop suite gets a little bit better. I mean, maybe there just aren't terribly good ones right now. Monty Berserker and Plated Beetle are kind of the best you have. Yeah, I know,
Laughable.
right? We have no 2/2 Divine Shields or anything like that. So perhaps we'll see more of that card later. I still think it's a good card, but in the even deck, you got access to you got the sort of the upside in quotes of being able to not run any 1-drops because now you have Gen in your deck, which means you basically always have a 1-drop. You're always getting 1 mana 1/1. You can always fill out your curve with something that costs 1 mana and gives you a minion. So that's awesome. Even if it's not as good as Firefly, it's just over the course of the game, it will end up being far better. And
Whoa, I drew my hero power again.
yeah, right, exactly. And uh, so by not running any 1-drops, you actually increase the value of Call to Arms. You make it a better card, and you still have access to like Equality Consecrate and Silver Sword and Valnir and like Tyrion if you want it. Sunkeeper Tarim, like the best card in Paladin.
Yeah, Blessing of Kings if you swing that way.
Yeah,
Glass Knight if you swing that way.
it swings
Um,
that way.
I don't think many people swing that way, but I don't speak for everybody in the directions in which they swing.
That's true. That's true.
The Silver Sword, I mean, that definitely looked like a Winmore, like just Johnny card, I guess, or Timmy or whatever. But
Timmy.
it's a
Yeah.
juicy one.
Yeah, it ended up being way better than I gave it credit for at first. It does a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, it's um, and it also makes just like the oozes better. That's I think a contributor to why there have been decks with oozes for a while. If you're playing even Paladin, you're playing that. If you're playing Odd, you're playing Vine Cleaver. Both Paladin decks have these really nice high-end weapons.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, it just incidentally hates on Rogue. Also, you can snipe any Warlocks running Skull, which is like I think kind of out of favor nowadays, but it wasn't in the past.
yeah, that was like the main. I mean, that was a big reason to run the weapon removal back then.
Mm,
And then the bonus was you could get these Paladin's weapons. Um, what else? What they nerfed some other deck though, didn't they?
Spiteful. So
Right. That's
yes,
what Druid was doing.
yeah, and Priest. Yeah, Spiteful Summoner was that. I mean, it was annoying because if you had a 10 mana spell that was like worth running in your deck, which Ultimate Infestation just is, then you like a pretty decent fraction of the time you get an insane high roll off of Spiteful Summoner, and you can just ride that to victory, as early as turn 5, but because your druid could actually be even sooner than that. So that
hmm
and like you just if you manage to get the 12/12 untargetable, like your opponent can't really deal with that like at that stage of the game.
It's worse, or it got worse. So this isn't like the. I guess this isn't because of the cards in the Witchwood, but when the Witchwood came out and all the three sets rotated out, that reduced the size of the 10-drop pool,
Yes, yeah,
and that
that's
was
significant.
another. So yeah, like a few decks like Q Block and Spiteful Druid kind of like got like sort of a speed boost, or like that's like in Diddy Kong Racing, they went over one of the speed boosters and everyone else missed it. Um, same with Paladin, just the insanity of Call to Arms, and then there were nerfs. I forget when.
Yeah, I don't know. It happened at some point, like pretty early on in Witchwood.
I bet
But
it's on this chart.
yeah, I mean, I know if we go through our episode descriptions, we could find roughly when it happened. But
The 22nd of May.
oh wow, that was a while ago. Um, that was pretty. Yeah, that was pretty shortly before I moved. Yeah, that's a while ago.
And the Witchwood came out April 12th.
Hmm.
So it was 40 days from the Witchwood to the patch, and then about 60 days to now.
Yeah, and I think in that 60 days we've seen the rise of like a lot of archetypes that we'd never seen before, which is what you expect with the rotation. Uh,
Well, what you hope for, at least.
yeah, what you hope for. I think in practice, in Hearthstone, we've always had a problem with lingerers, like Pirate Warrior being a good example, and obviously Q Block and the Call to Arms decks being another. But
A little lingering is fun, at
yeah,
least
I
in
think
my
so.
opinion. Um, that's because Quest Rogue lingered. That's another deck that actually got
Oh yeah,
nerfed.
that's hilarious that the quest got nerfed again. That's actually really funny.
So it had been originally printed. You play 4 minions with the same name to get Crystal Core, which used to give your minions make them into 5/5s, but now you got to play 5 minions with the same name and they become 4/4s. Uh, and
What a
that
mistake.
I was glad that that was still around because I love that deck, and it kind of got also a little bit better. Everything else got weaker, but its general strategy, it lost one card like the Ferryman, which is pretty important, but
Yeah.
for the most, like it had gotten like a nice legendary in Sonya. So that lingering was cool, but apparently no one else thought that was true.
Yeah, I think that the deck got a bunch of tools that like short out some of its weaknesses. So like yeah, it lost Ferryman, which I actually thought would kill the deck, but Sonya turns out to be absolutely unreal with Stone Tusk Boar. You also get Zola, which is like pretty decent, and the Vicious Scale Hides, like that
Yeah.
that suddenly allowed you to do something that you couldn't do before, which is turn around aggro matchups.
It's unreal. And I mean that one was Sonya also.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Sonya like did so much for the deck in addition to just triggering your quests and stuff and like making your wax elementals even more horrifying. It allowed you to like with a bunch of mana available, you could clear the opponent's board. So,
And just like you only need one other minion besides her to complete the quest. It's
yep.
pretty much the best thing that happened to Quest Rogue ever.
Yeah.
And DK Valera is also pretty unreal in the deck.
I never actually owned it, so I never got to play with that.
I loved Quest Rogue enough to craft her just for that deck,
Nice.
and
That's dedication.
it's a hoot. If you have coin when you play her, you can like immediately utilize the shadow thing because like
Oh
she
yeah.
she costs 9, so if you then play a 1-drop, you won't be able to play the shadow version of it. But if you have the coin, then you can. or if you saved up a free minion from when you Shadow Step. But that was a
Mm,
trick I learned. If you have like you got Valyria in your opener, you drew her early, and you're gonna wind up playing her. You can get a value from her the turn you play her. They do give you the shadow. You just people play her and pass, um, but you can actually get the shadow out of it.
hmm. No, that's pretty awesome. It seems cool. Yeah, like I said, I never got to really play with it, but um, I always sort of imagined that that would help you complete your quest when you run out of gas, which can happen.
And also helps you not die. It does a lot of work.
Yeah, also it just gives you more gas later, which like could be really important against the control warlock matchups. Like I
Yep.
those sometimes they could beat you. So I guess Valera makes that just not true.
Yeah, it's tough to lose after Valyria unless they hold on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean that's part of it. They just like have enough removal to hold on until they can play that completely unfair card. Um, yeah, that's hilarious though. I mean, I think they learned an important lesson about the types of decks that they want to make possible in Hearthstone because like
hmm
Questor kind of felt like Storm, like a Magic deck, and in
Hmm.
in that like not on maybe not on the same power level and certainly not as fast, but the idea that your opponent is playing a single player game and you are also playing a single player game. So you're the single player game you're playing is deal 30 damage, and the single player game your opponent is playing is play 5 minions with the same name. And like you both aren't really playing with each other. And you just happen to be playing next to each other.
Across from each other.
Right, and you're like racing each other to see who could win their game first. And that's probably not what they had in mind when they made this two-player game. So I think that discouraging that type of gameplay is something they want to do, and they maybe recognize that the only way in which this quest can exist is in that kind of world. If the quest is good, then that's what's going on. So they need to make it worse so that it's good less often.
Yeah. This I mean we have a whole episode about the quests, but you can partly relate that phenomenon due to like the problems with the quests. Like you begin with one less card. If you're beginning with one less card to play this quest, you can't really afford to be doing anything with it besides going all in.
Yeah,
Like if you can't play just like Miracle Rogue that sometimes Shadow Step stuff. Like that's just not you basically would just be playing Miracle Rogue with one less card every game.
yes, exactly.
So
You
the like you said, the only way anyone would bother using it is if it's what they're going all in on, and that's the focus of their deck.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's with few exceptions that is the case, and I mean, I think the exceptions are stuff like the more control-oriented quest decks like Priest and Warrior, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's because those decks have built-in inevitability, and they construct their deck such that it is also inevitable that they complete the quest.
Yep. The completely different class cards available, but just like yeah, Rogue needs minions both to complete the quest and then enjoy the reward from it as well. So
Yeah,
like the deck is like it has to narrowly be like a large number of minions and stuff like that. Um, but in spite of all that, I really like playing it.
I think it's cool. I mean, when I finally got around to like owning the quest, I think I opened it and then I just like crafted the rest of the cards. I actually had a lot of them. It was pretty awesome, but not Valera. I was pretty into the deck. It's like fun to play because it's so different from the other decks in Hearthstone. But like, I completely understand why they nerf it. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not a fun experience from really anyone's perspective, except maybe some sadists. Um,
Hi.
but uh, yeah, I mean, I think like but anyway, once these nerfs hit, like the world opened up. So, like you had
hmm
said earlier, Carnivorous Cube started appearing a lot more. Um,
All over the place.
yeah, in the beginning of the expansion, Cube was seeing play in like the Hadronox type decks, which actually you had a pretty early version of that was close to some of the optimized early versions of that deck.
That was a blast. The
Yeah,
early Hadronox days, before
yeah, I mean,
anyone
it's good.
thought to use Cornered Sentry. That card's infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting. That was like a strong deck with a really strong end game. Um, that even had some end game against like cube block.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing at the beginning is getting to the end game against Q-Block, and they like kind of are like well played and like going off and bring all their Void Lords back, and then I just refill with like my third Lich King. Like I'm ready to do that a couple more times.
Right. Yeah, it's you kind of run out of gas less often than they do. And if you're like good with your draw spells, you could also not lose in fatigue where they can.
Yeah, you like the naturalize is also just like really makes you have a huge edge in a control matchup where it might go late like that
Yeah. Oh
to
yeah, for sure.
ace one of their guys and put them 2 cards deeper into fatigue.
Yeah, the downside of Naturalize turned out to not be a huge deal in that deck really at all.
That was another yeah the Druid Dark Pact.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It's so funny. Like instead of gaining life, your opponent draws 2 cards.
they get the Arcane Intellect, but it works because I mean it's not just that Hadronox is that good; it's that Carnivorous Cube is that good. You would be able to. I mean, really, the best play in the deck was playing Witching Hour after Hadronox died, and then cubing the Hadronox. Like that's what made the deck so powerful. Is that Witching Hour would give you the full board of taunt minions plus 2 more Hadronoxes for 2 more full boards of taunt minions,
Right.
and you can do that again.
Yeah.
So like yeah, and that deck definitely wasn't happening with even Paladin and Q Block being the way that they were prior. Um, and then there's also kind of maybe more recently the Hunter decks with Carnivorous Cube.
That's so cool.
This is like not even there's I think that there's essentially two versions. The wait does the version with does Katharina Winter Wisp and the dinosaurs use Carnivorous Cube?
Um
No, it doesn't because it has so there was the one that used the Seeping Oozling, and that
yeah, that
copies a
doesn't
Death Rattle effect in your deck. So that would not be good with Carnivorous Cube in your deck. So
yeah, that runs a
that
different gelatinous blob.
yes, a few weeks ago I think people started playing this Hunter deck which is it's not Spell Hunter because it is using minions, but it's using Seeping Oozling, Katharina Winterwisp, Charged Venusaur, King Crush, the Lich King, and Silver Vanguard, the 7 mana 3/3 Death Rattle, recruit an 8 cost minion.
Right.
So some people were calling it Recruit Hunter because you got Katharina recruiting your beasts, and then the Vanguard recruiting your Katharina or your Lich King. And then you play Seeping Oozling and Play Dead,
Right.
and you can like cheat a bunch of stuff out. So you can cheat a Devilsaur as a 7/7 charge with no downside, or the Grizzly as a 3/12 taunt with no downside.
Right.
But now there's a deck with Cube and the Egg, Devilsaur Egg,
Yeah.
which also uses Play Dead, also uses Deathstalker Rexar, so some of the cards are similar, but it's not doing the Seeping Oozling thing. It's just hard into Death Rattle, and it's using 2 Carnivorous Cubes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like a little bit it seems like more of a top-down archetype, so they added a bunch of support for Death Rattle cards in Hunter, and I think that this might not be what they imagined the deck would look like, but it's definitely making use of that top-down support. Cards like the Terror Scale, the 3/3 that triggers Death Rattle, also Play Dead, Carnivorous Cube, and your goal is to like make a far less terrifying and unbeatable board. You're not making 8/8 charges, but you are making like early 5/5s that your opponent maybe can't deal with in like the 6th and 7th turn of the game.
Yeah, the dream hands you get an early egg and get to maybe Play Dead it more than once, or Play Dead and Terror Scale it.
Right.
Or you can cube it. Or after you attack with your 5/5, you can cube your 5/5. My list is also using 2 Savannah Highmanes. That's a
Same.
pretty nice thing to cube. And then all of this is actually really, really good with Houndmaster Shaw.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like Carnivorous Cube with Shaw is like so good because if there's something that's big enough, you can just pop it immediately. One of the maybe arguments against the egg and like popping 5/5s out of it is that there's no really immediate effect, but if they have rush, then there is. So Shaw is like insane in the deck. I don't own one, so I've been using. I was like, 4 mana legendaries. They're all the same card. I'll use Spirit Singer Umbra instead. I've been using Spirit Singer Umbra in my
That's amazing. I
Death
actually
Death
opened
Rattle
Shaw,
Hunter.
so I have been playing with that, and it is
Okay,
really good.
yeah, that's probably a lot better. But sometimes I get to uh Umbra Egg.
Yeah, I'm sure you get some people with that, and they're like, "That's incredible," or whatever they say.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no, that's exactly what they say. It's always Uther.
yeah, so I mean, well, yeah, of course it is. So Uther's a funny story. I mean, I think at the beginning of the expansion there was also this odd paladin deck, which just I know I've been on record saying that deck looks like a pile, and it still does. Like I think the optimized list, like I still don't think there is an optimized list because I still don't think it matters what cards you play. But like as long as you have 2 level ups in your hero power, like that's and Baku, like that's all the cards you need. Like just put in whatever else.
As long as the
Um,
other 27 are odd, you're good to go, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like they can be whatever. They could be raid leaders. They could be like Frost Wolf warlords. Like it doesn't matter what they are.
Boisterous Bard?
Yeah,
Sure, why
yeah. Why
not?
not? Sure. Okay. I mean, like you could even run like some good cards like Acker's Veteran or Fungalmancer.
Yeah,
But yeah,
good cards are good.
that is a that deck is still a pile and it's still around and it's still doing the roughly the same thing, except now there's not really a better paladin deck to play. So I think it's maybe a more dominant force in the metagame.
It's, I mean, according to Vicious Syndicate, it's pretty solid right now. I don't know what cards it actually got from Witchwood. I'm kind of blanking on that.
It got Baku.
Oh, right, of course. For some reason, it's the odd even thing. I love it so much that I feel like it's just been around forever.
I like
Yeah,
it too. Yeah, I think in general, like the odd even mechanics have been awesome because they give you. I think that's part of the reason. So, like one thing we see in Witchwood right now, sorry to interrupt myself so much, is that we have we have all this deck diversity, and I think that odd even sort of allowed that to come here, and that's one reason why I really like that mechanic, and one thing I really liked about Witchwood.
yeah. I think that's something we got to give a nod to the Blizzmen and Blizzwomen for is those cards because they definitely seemed like they weren't going to be worth it largely. Um, like almost every time, but people have found a lot of cool ways to use them that are really good. Like odd even paladin, obviously, but like even shaman. That didn't seem
Yeah,
like it was gonna be a thing. Like especially in like wild, like if someone's like, okay, we're gonna play an aggro shaman deck with 0 tunnel trogs. I'd be like, I'm gonna play tunnel trogs instead because whatever your
yeah,
idea
right.
is, it's bad. But it's like
It's
the two
actually great.
drops are just they're so good
Yeah, I mean, you have
that
Jade Claw as like one of the best weapons in the game. You still have access to the entire Shaman Jade package,
that's
in general.
true. Yeah,
And
you don't have the 7 drop, but who cares?
who cares? You have Aya, you have Jade Lightning, and you have the claws. That's it. That's the package. And you have Totem Golem, like just one of the best 2 drops ever printed. So
And like one of the main ways to gain advantage from your 1 mana hero power, Flame Tongue Totem, you can use that.
yep.
Direwolf Alpha might also be played. I'm not sure, but like
I
all
know you play
this.
a Knife Juggler. I know. I don't know about
Oh yeah,
Alpha.
so but cards you'd be like, well, if I'm getting a 1 mana hero power, can I use these? Yeah, you can. So that's like another, and then just the fact that Mercspark Eel is nasty.
Oh yeah, I mean that card's really really good. It's just as good as it looks. Also, you get a Sea Giant in that deck, which is really good with your hero power.
El Gigante.
Yeah, so that's like I think that the odd even mechanics really opened up sort of like the worlds of decks. So one
Hmm.
thing in the beginning that I noticed is a lot of the decks were using Baku, not Gen, and they were aggro. So like odd rogue or odd paladin were both really low to the ground, aggressive, tempo-oriented decks that were just trying to crush you before you could get off the ground.
There was Odd
Uh,
Hunter too, right at the beginning.
yeah, yeah, which is exactly the same deck. These are just all really fast, and they're trying to beat you very quickly with an improved hero power. Um, but I think once like people kind of figured out even, we started to see more mid-range oriented decks because the even paladin was that, except it was totally unfair. But then there's also even Warlock, which turned out to be like an excellent mid-range deck and still is an excellent mid-range deck.
Yeah, that's another definite success of Baku and of the Witchwood, or of Gen and of the Witchwood rather, is even Warlock. That seemed like one of the hero powers it might be worth reducing the cost of because it's so good. But like the consequences of a 1 mana hero power like turn 3 Mountain Giants
Yeah,
had
right.
not crossed my mind. Um, and also I think that prior to a few weeks ago, when even Warlock started to be a thing that was good, um, the brains were still very locked into Cube Lock and
Yeah,
like just using Void Lords and Carnivorous Cubes and Doom Guards, things that have odd costs. So I think that kind of slowed people down on realizing how strong that deck is.
yeah. But I mean, it is super strong.
It's really good. It's got Defile and Hellfire and a bunch of giant minions. Like it's like really impressively effective against almost everything.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I mean, it's been an interesting world, and there's very high deck diversity, and I still think there's room to explore and make really silly decks. So I've actually been playing the Spiteful Paladin list.
Oh my. What
Yeah,
is
so I
that?
used. Oh my gosh! All right, so I used to run Grime Street Enforcer in there, and I felt like that was necessary, and that rotated. The idea is you run Spiteful, like you run a Spiteful deck, so it's got two spells in it, Dino sizes.
Of course.
So you are other than that you're just trying to play a mid-range deck, but I'm really greedy, so I also run Kelesith, and but I'm actually even more greedy than that, so I run Corpse Taker and two Stormwatchers, and yeah.
Corpse Taker and two. Wow. Like what? It took me a second. Okay, I mean that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean it's what I got to rank 5 with that like a month ago or something. It's a missing legend. So this deck's pretty fun. It's not actually good, but it like you can definitely really surprise your opponent. They often don't expect to die from Dino Size, and that happens pretty often. You're just like, okay, you're at 10, and like you kind of have a dominant board position. I just have to hope you don't respect my minions, and then um, yeah. Also, it's really funny because in a lot of games where you play Spiteful, that you get to just like the same thing happens. You play Spiteful, the card comes out of your deck face down, and then the drum roll and turns up, and then your opponent emotes, and it's really good. That happens every game. I never squelch when I play that deck because that moment is so pleasing. Um,
That
but
yeah, Spiteful's still like it did get 1 mana tacked on, but it's definitely still got some strength to it.
yeah, I mean, you still like it's certainly not nearly as powerful as it was at 6 mana. And especially because like you're getting a random 8 and a 4/4 for 7. Like that's not actually an amazing deal. But the deck is strong enough, and like Stormwatcher's a real card. You can kill your opponent with that, especially if you manage to get a Dino Size on it. Though that almost never happens.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about getting it off on Corpse Taker, but I'm sure that happens even less often.
Yeah, a Corpse Taker is usually coming out early as a very threatening taunt. So other than that, you just run like the Peacekeepers and the value 1 drops that are sort of in neutral and in Paladin. And I think I might have some Fungal Mancers in there. If I don't, I have Scalebane. One card I was thinking about putting in there is Ashmore. That would
Do you have Rush, guys?
so that's the thing. I don't have any Rush, but I have the Chillblade Champions for Lifesteal, and I have Valenier for Death Rattle.
Oh, that's spicy.
Yeah, but I couldn't find a good way to get Rush in without losing Kelesith, and I don't think Ashmore and Scale Hides is better than Kelesith. So
Well, I think they've got to be making some new Rush stuff, so that
oh
could
yeah,
help.
yeah.
One thing about like the Baku and Gen, something people were trying early on was also Odd Warrior.
Oh yeah, sure.
And as much as I'm really happy with how Gen and Baku turned out, I'm kind of bummed presently that no control deck really came out of it, like Odd Warrior, Odd Priest. I would have really liked Odd Priest to have been a thing. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, I think I'm on record saying that when I saw Baku, the first thing I thought it was Warrior. And yeah, you're kind of right. I mean, people played Odd Quest, and it was like okay in the beginning, but I think non-restricted Quest is just better.
Um, I think that's probably true. I haven't touched Taunt Warrior, even Warrior at all in a while. Um, but the both of those strategies are things I was hoping one would be able to stick. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe next set. I haven't given up hope. Um, but that's another really cool possibility is that kind of super grindy control deck, which I find really really fun. With the upgraded hero power every game, the just a card turn one every game. That sounds really nice.
Yeah, I think if I had to take a guess, I think that they try to avoid that. I would imagine that you get people closing Hearthstone more often after relatively long games. So
Yeah,
if I had to just take a guess about how it works out. So, what that suggests is that they're getting, users to stop engaging with their service. So they want to find the events that predict that, and long games probably predict that well. So like you wouldn't want to make a bunch of mechanics that facilitate decks like that, even if there are some players who really like them. And having them is good, but having them be too prevalent is bad.
yeah. Well, as far as length of the game goes, I can click hero power and pass very quickly. So if the game is taking too long, it's their fault.
Yeah, but it's also like an extra frustrating game. Um,
Well,
from
maybe
from your
that's why I like it so much.
well, that's yeah. I mean, that's the sadism thing. They're not trying to cater to you.
I know, but they should. I buy their cards.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, we're certainly entrenched players. Yeah. No. I mean, I ultimately like. I do agree. I think that like having some of those strategies around is good, and there's actually Quest Priest right now, which is pretty close to a fatigue type control deck.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Um, I have not touched Priest in a while either, but I'm pretty excited about some of the cards they've been spoiling. Um, oh yeah, that was actually a thing too for a bit. Mind Blast Priest.
Yeah.
When Q Block was more annoying, I think it still might be a deck. Um, but that was also kind of cute. Forget if that used anything from Witchwood.
Yeah. I don't really remember either. I never. I tried to play it a little bit, and I never really got it to work for me.
It's
So
kind of weird because it's also using dragons.
yeah, it was. It seemed I could never figure it out. I mean, I could never get it to win reliably or anything.
Oh,
But
it's using Scale Worm, so that's a card from Witchwood. That's a card that was like getting more play earlier when there was more Dragon Priest, and now I haven't seen it in a while.
I think there were more minion-based strategies in the beginning as well. Like, I think even some of the early spiteful druid lists ran it.
Yes, that is correct because they had Scalebane, um, and maybe
Spiteful priest ran it
also
too.
what's that?
Spiteful priest ran it as well.
Yeah, yeah, Spiteful Priest definitely ran it, and then Druid I think might have also had Twilight Drake sometimes.
Mm.
Um, but uh, yeah, Priest seems to have gone down a lot in popularity lately.
Yeah, it's that's fine. They had Razakis for a while.
They sure did. No, this is basically a control meta, right? It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean I think it's slow. It's not super duper fast. That's cool.
I'm not
But
going anywhere.
yeah, for sure. Uh, but I think so how's that about Witchwood? Do we want to move on to Boomsday maybe?
Let's see. We covered an even. Um, we talked about some of the rush minions we liked. One card that you also brought up, Ashmore. It would be nice if you could find a way to use it because we said that it would be good and we were totally wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
I still I haven't given up on that card. I'm still willing to bet on it.
yeah, but we at least haven't been right about it for yet.
That's true. Yeah, for sure.
uh, and yeah, I mean, so a couple other silly, interesting cards they gave Druid. Or things like Whispering Woods, which summon a 1/1 for each card in your hand, cost 4. And like a couple other hand druid things. Ferocious Howl. But
Yeah, for sure.
that they sort of like expanded on the already very long list of things Druid does. Um, and one card that they gave it is the Apple one, which I thought would be cool at Saw No Play, but it's going to give you Trents. And
Yeah.
that's about to become relevant. We now, I'm fine with exiting the Witchwood. I'm pretty excited to get in the labs, to be honest.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
collected our data. Let's do some research.
oh boy, I'm back to it. Just when I thought I left. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. It appears like, I guess we can just use that as our segue here. So it looks like Druid is getting Trent synergy, some amount of it. So Trents are little 2/2 tokens. Is that you don't get Trents out of living mana. You get something else, right?
You get mana Trents.
Are those Trents?
That's I wrote down in the notes. Mana Trents? Question mark.
Is that what you wrote down earlier this episode?
Yes.
Nice.
Because I don't I don't know if they have Trent in their name and they're 2/2 tree guys, but their name isn't just Trent. But yeah, the when I told my sister that the Boomsday project was happening and that there's basically a whole set based on a chemistry lab, she thought I was lying.
That's awesome.
But it definitely is pretty hype that they're doing this, and the one I guess I knew other things Druid gets to do now is care about how many Trents you've played, or whether or not you have Trents, or Trents have died. What have we seen so far?
So I mean, we have Mulch Muncher, which is Trents that died. We have, if you control a Trent, discover a spell, the 2 mana 2/3. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so Dendrologist is a 2 mana 2/3, no creature type. With Battlecry, if you control a Trent, discover a spell. So
whoa, that's a cycle. We have Hydrologist, Arcanologist, Dendrologist, and they all do something really similar.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they're all great. It turns out 2 mana cards with like 2 power that draw a card are awesome.
Yeah, well, Tortolon Forager blew it.
No, Britt. Well, yeah, but he's not an ologist. He's not a tortologist.
Yeah, tortologist.
Tortologist, right.
If they ever print that, it'll be great, though. I guess they probably won't since they're dendrologists.
Dendrologist, yeah.
So, is that going to be good enough? I mean, like, Arcanologist and Hydrologist are good because you can slam them turn 2, and you still get the card. This guy, you can slam him turn 2, but there's, like, no way you're going to have a Trent from turn 1.
Yeah, I think it depends on what this deck is doing. He also doesn't have a creature type, but I guess that matters a little bit less now that you don't have Mark of Charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do agree. Like, I think that this is Arcanologist and Hydrologist are both sort of obviously good because they get you another card with no strings attached, and this one does not. This one has a big string attached, a tree attached, in fact. So, but the payoff is pretty big. I mean, discovering a Druid spell. Well, okay, if they have cards like Landscaping Biology Project, the Witchwood Apple and stuff, I think that pool is not just going to be Nourishes, Ultimate Infestations, and Naturalizes.
Right.
But it could be that you hit one of those spells often enough that it's still good.
And you still can, like, the payoff can be good, and then also if you just need to play 2 mana 2/3, it's not like you can't.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 mana 2/3 is a fine stat line.
And then Mulch Muncher is a 10 mana 8/8 mech. It actually has Rush. The first time I looked at it, I didn't realize this, but it has Rush. And costs 1 less for each friendly Trent that died this game. So it's good as this game. It doesn't have to be in your hand. There's definitely some cards that only go down in cost when they're in your hand. But this one, for every Trent that died, will cost 1 less. You can play 8/8 Rush. And since it's a mech, you can magnetize it. It doesn't have magnetic itself, but if you've got something else that's magnetic, you can soup it up.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, so magnetic is cool. It's like what is that mechanic called? I think it's a Theros mechanic in Magic.
Totem Armor?
Not Totem Armor. It's the one where you can enchantment creatures and you can attach them to stuff.
Living Aura.
Is it Living Enchantment?
No. Maybe?
Alright, we're looking this up.
Yeah. You're right, though. It's a lot like that.
Yeah, it's like it is a really bestow.
It's creature type specific bestow, or
Yeah,
minion type specific bestow. Well, that's a
that's
tongue
cool.
twister right there.
Yeah, but it's a pretty cool mechanic. Just in I think we mentioned it earlier, but magnetic allows you to a minion that has magnetic can be attached like an enchantment to any other mech. So you could just imagine that thing sort of glomming on since the mech is metal.
Yeah, it's really hot. And
Yeah,
so that it gives whatever the text on the magnetic minion is that gets added to the text of the mech you have out, and also the
yes,
stats get added. So that I think could be particularly relevant with Mulch Muncher because it's got Rush. Like a buff effect is notoriously maybe not relevant because you kind of need something to attack with, or a taunt minion or something. Like you don't really necessarily get like you could Dino size your minion and end your turn, then your opponent can attack you for lethal. The fact that you
right.
use Dino size means nothing. Mulch Muncher can get you some value immediately if Druid either through neutral or probably not through its own class card, but maybe through neutral. If there's a magnetic lifesteal minion, that could be pretty
Hmm.
spicy with Mulch Muncher.
That's certainly there is, isn't there? There's that legendary. Um,
Oh wait, there already is. It's a good thing that one of us can read. It's called Ziliax.
yeah, Ziliax.
Let's read
Um,
this one. This is a 5
ooh,
mana 3/2 mech with magnetic, divine shield, taunt, lifesteal, and rush.
wow. Ashmore picks this up.
Yeah, for like several reasons, right?
Yeah, for two. That's pretty awesome.
That
Yeah.
is neat because it's got so a 5 mana 3/2. It's pretty low on the
Hmm.
deal, but it can attack immediately because of rush. It'll survive the attacks of divine shield, and you'll gain health because of lifesteal.
Yeah, taunt is sort of weird here, but I think that's probably more for the magnetic aspect.
Yeah, I think as a card, it's still like if you compare it to Chill Blade Champion, like kind of not really any better, maybe worse.
Yeah, I think it's a little worse.
Uh,
Can't go face.
but it's got that magnetic effect. So if you put it on the right minion, that's going to be nasty to give the right minion Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush. For example, this 8/8, which if 10 Trents have died, it would cost 0. So you could get an 11/10 Lifesteal, Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt for 5.
That could be huge. Yeah, I mean, it seems like this card seems like it has some potential. I mean, like cost reduction effects are good, so we should always pay attention for them. If it kind of depends how much of a how difficult it is to get Trents. Like I think if living mana, if those mana Trents are Trents, then this is like potentially great.
Yeah.
Of less importance is whether Ironbark Protector is a Trent. Uh, but that's
I
yeah.
did not
Anyway,
think of that. I would guess that it's probably not.
same.
Um,
Doesn't
but
even have Trent in the name.
I really do hope that the living mana trends count because
Yes.
that would make this strategy so much more effective. There really is like not that many good ways other than that one, and like that one already has the inherent, you lose all your mana when you play it, so
Yeah.
it's like um more interesting than something like landscaping or the new force of nature.
Oh yeah. So it looks like I mean, while we're on Druid, it looks like they're getting a bunch of other copy type effects. So, Gloop Sprayer, which is 8 mana 4/4. Summon a copy of each battle cry. Summon a copy of each adjacent minion. So we need. How can we make this work with Charged Devilsaur?
Well, you just play your Devilsaur, get it killed, then you play the Witching Hour twice,
Yes.
and then pop your Twig of the World Tree.
Well, you could
Like
you could
the
actually
sprayer.
Witching Hour attack Carnivorous Cube, and then next turn naturalize your cube, Gloop Sprayer, and then just
There it,
spray them with Gloop. There you go.
there it is. I mean, you could even. I mean, I think we just do that with the Twig, man. I think we do that all in one turn.
Yeah, that's
You
true. Yeah,
Witching
we just took it
Hour,
out.
attack with your 7/7, cube it, and then pop your Twig, and uh, naturalize your cube, attack with those guys, and Gloop Spray deck with those guys. So that's
Wow, I know
35
what I'm
damage.
doing on day one. That sounds amazing. And this is a common? That's kind of unreal.
I'm crafting 2 golden ones instantaneously. Spraying my
That
golden
is a
gloop
deck.
everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Who's ready for a
There's
golden gloop shower?
Oh boy. I mean maybe the Phlebidinous Floop is.
So this, I definitely, like, it was on my 7th or 8th run through his name that I finally figured out how to say it. Phlebidinous Floop.
Yep. That's a word. So 4 mana 3/4. While in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played.
It's
Which, I
legendary.
mean, it's legendary, yeah. So this has some potential. I mean it's another faceless manipulator.
It looks really, really good.
Yeah, I mean like Malagos jumps to mind. That's Malagos Druid has been a deck for a little while.
Yeah, there's that, like, it would definitely be sweet with that. Um, it's actually, like, really silly with Ixlid, because if you play Ixlid and then play this, you'll get 2 more Ixlids,
Oh boy.
and then you get 3 copies of whatever you play thereafter. So there's, like, definitely, like, complete, and like, you could just, it doesn't say, like, this turn or anything. I'm pretty sure you could turn 8, play a Lich King, and then turn 9, play a 4 mana 3/4 Lich King.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of versatility to it. Another one that I would love to talk about that's, I feel the same way as Electra, the Shaman legendary. But this guy, because there's no time limit, like, you could play Ysera and then play a 3/4 Ysera the next turn.
No, that's really interesting.
And
I think
I guess it's a Nanbo with Oaken summons though.
oh for sure. Um but I mean that's ultimately okay. And also probably by design.
It's still really
But
interesting.
yeah. So let's. I think Jur definitely had a lot to them here. I think they might have the most card revealed of any class, but
Mhm.
also they suggest a lot of different archetypes, and yet again reinforcing the idea that Druid is just good at everything. That's their class identity.
Yes, they're just the best. They're the best
Yeah,
class.
it's just the best class in Hearthstone. And but actually, it's been great for a long
It's
time.
possible that math would support that.
Yeah, it's. I think you could make a pretty compelling argument that Druid is the best class in Hearthstone. I don't know if it actually is. Like, I'm not making a statistical argument, but if I needed to lay down some points on the table, I certainly could.
It wouldn't. It
Uh,
would be easy. It'd be pretty easy.
I think so. So yeah, I guess we could talk about Electra. So what does this card do?
This is a 3. So this is another legendary. This is a Shaman legendary. She's an elemental. 3 mana, 3/3. Battle cry. Your next spell this turn casts twice.
3 mana, 3/3 elemental with a really nice battle cry. So what can you do other than lava bursting?
Uh, well, I mean, obviously that's the best thing to do is 6 mana Pyroblast. I mean, to me, the obvious thing is that Healing Rain becomes Reno
Oh
Jackson.
my God, no, not Reno.
Yeah, she's just, you get to play as, 2 copies of cards, but you also get to Reno Jackson.
Oh my God.
I think that, I know, it's filthy with Healing Rain, and this is going to be in standard. But then also Volcano, like, there's times when there's like 20 or 30. I guess this works up to 27, but you can really turn your volcano heat up if you need to.
Oh my God, that's like not necessary at all.
Sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes
That's
your
true. Yeah.
opponent's got like 10 out and you don't do it, and then they're like, all right, I'm going to play my Mountain Giant, my Twilight Drake, and screw this guy over.
Yeah.
I know this happened because it happened last night. But if you got Electric Storm Surge,
So Electra's really interesting. I didn't even consider Healing Rain. That makes me think of the old school Elemental Shutterwalk deck. You could fish this up with Sandbinder.
yeah, the
And
fact that she's an elemental is really awesome.
yeah, and I mean, how much better does that deck get if it has Reno in it?
A lot better.
Is yeah, I mean, it gets better, yeah, but I'm wondering if it's like better than the mid-range versions now, because like one of the big advantages of the Elemental Shutterwalk deck is that the combo is consistent. It happens always. There's really no fail state unless you play Hagatha or Primordial Drake, but you could also just not run those cards.
Wait, what's the elemental Shutterwalk deck?
It's the first version of Shutterwalk, the one that Toast wrote to Legend when Witchwood dropped. It's you play Murmuring Elemental, and all of the other, the Grumbles, the Sarnates, etc. But you play Murmuring Elemental, then you play Shudderwalk, and that guarantees that you get a copy of Shudderwalk in your hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I think that this will just be fine in the version that already exists.
that's true. Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm wondering what'll be better there because the Elemental version is like doesn't have a win con other than Shudderwalk really. Like you're going all in on the combo, but your combo always works as opposed to the mid-range version, which is like less all in on the combo, but the combo does not always work.
Yeah. I see Electra being really good in almost any Shaman deck.
Yeah, I mean this is a really powerful effect. That's part of the reason why I brought up Lava Burst right away. Is like it's just this can do a lot.
Though, I guess Lava Burst, you wouldn't get to pick a target the second time. Probably.
Oh yeah.
I think.
I wonder.
I would. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I mean, in Hearthstone, traditionally, things are random when they're not letting you pick. But I mean, if you think of it like I cast Lava Burst on you, and then you duplicate what just happened, it would be Lava Burst on you again, right? So, well, that would definitely affect its power level. But I think just between like Lightning Storm and Volcano and Healing Rain, it's really, really good.
Yeah, it seems good. It definitely seems good. I did not consider Healing Rain.
The
First thing I thought of was Lava Burst because fuck yeah.
Of course. If you hoot with Maelstrom Portal too, like not especially good or
yeah.
anything, that'd be adorable.
Or with anything can happen.
Yeah, so if you have a fully upgraded Spellstone, here's the new combo. Fully upgraded Spellstone, turn 10, Electro Storm Surge, Spellstoner, you get 7 Electro Storm Surges.
Amazing.
How do you lose? You have 7 Electro Storm Surges.
Oh, you have to grumble them all back to your hand, and then you just then you Lava Burst them.
Of course. Well, the thing that's lame about it is that it's not copy the next spell. It says twice. They know they've seen people play Magic the Gathering, and they know that if they just give you the ability to make lots and lots of copies, people will do that. So similar to Bran doesn't say copy your next battle cry. It says specifically twice. So if you have more than one Bran out, you don't get extra battle cry effects. But I'm pretty stoked for Electra. I'm not sure if there's any other cool Shaman cards.
No, they haven't spoiled too many yet. One thing that they have spoiled that I guess we haven't talked about are legendary spells.
Yes, there's I only seen the Rogue one, I think.
So you've only seen the Rogue one. They've actually spoiled some other ones. Have you seen the Paladin of the Priest one?
Wait, no, the Paladin one I have. That's the one that gives you mechs. That's actually a really, really exciting one. It's any mech can happen.
Yes, yeah. Resurrect 3 friendly mechs. And they keep magnetic upgrades, which is interesting.
Yeah, so that's Kangar's Endless Army, a 7-mana legendary Paladin spell. So I think the point with the legendary spells is you can only play one copy of each one.
Fake. Yeah, right.
But that
makes sense.
But I think otherwise they're just the same as a normal spell. And then it's Resurrect 3 friendly mechs. They keep any magnetic upgrades. So if you did any magnetic buffs on the mechs, they'll come back with those buffs. So this is hard to evaluate right now because we still haven't seen that many instances of magnetic.
So one thing that I'm looking forward to is, of course, seeing instances of magnetic and mechs and seeing how this card can be potentially broken, but also the animation and the sound that happens when these legendary spells is played is going to be great.
Yeah, we should, instead of doing a set review, we should do a review of what we think the sound bites are going to be. Just so this card looks like this, it'll probably sound like this, and I give that 3 out of 5.
That's actually a great idea. Maybe we should keep that one on our back pocket.
Yeah,
for our review episode.
We could imitate it. Dead Ringer looks like it's gonna go. So I give it a 4 out of 5. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good sound. I give the sound a 3 out of 5 and the effect 4 out of 5.
The sound I think it's going to have.
Reviewing completely made up aspects of the card. That sounds great. I'm in for that. So have you seen the Priest legendary spell?
No.
Oh man, I can't wait to tell you. It's 9 mana. It's called Zarek's Cloning Gallery. It already sounds great. Summon a 1/1 copy of each minion in your deck.
Well, damn.
Yep, Velen Malgos. I mean, it
Yeah.
could just be in your hand, but still, this seems potentially good.
Obsidian statue.
Yeah, right.
The
That's a fine card to get a 1/1 copy of.
funnest
Uh,
thing to do, get a bunch of obsidian statues.
I mean, in Wild, just putting this card into the existing Big Priest list makes it better.
It because I mean the big priest lists do have a good deal of minions in the end.
Yeah, and they're all like, and you can resurrect them or eternal servitude them, and this like, feeds those spells. Also, you could potentially get Yasharj in Wild.
That oh yeah, it's copy. So that's a really nice thing. It's not recruiting them, so they actually do get to
Yeah.
stay in your deck.
Yes.
Oh, and if you like, this also is just nasty if you're playing N'Zoth or like Death Rattle. Like, just get a bunch of Sludge Belchers.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure, definitely. Or I mean, if you're playing, you're summoning 1/1. You're summoning things, so this also triggers the quest.
Uh-oh.
Right,
That
9 mana complete your quest.
that is spicy. I am a
Yeah, so
fan.
it's cool. It's a cool card. Like I hadn't, you see the effect and you're like, okay, that looks like it's breakable. I hadn't really thought about it, so it's cool to actually do that. It seems like it has a little bit of potential.
Especially with Archbishop Benedictus.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, absolutely. You take their deck and you just summon everything. That's ludicrous. I love it.
Very necessary. Check out my 1/1 Eye of Blackpaw. I bet you like that.
Yeah, that's it seems cool. So, have we seen any other we've seen the Rogue one. That was the first one that was spoiled. 5 mana, draw the rest of your deck. The dream.
And so that I'm as much as I'm excited for that when I saw it, because like, oh, I can either win really quickly or lose really quickly. Works for me. That sounds like a blast.
Right.
It's like Ad Nauseam, actually, that card. The magic card. But then they printed Lab Recruiter.
What is that?
This is the missing piece. So this is a 2-mana 3/2 in Rogue. Battle Cry. Shuffle 3 copies of a friendly minion into your deck.
Ooh.
It's a gang up that you can gang up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So with
Oh wow!
so
you could just go ham.
with 2 copies of him in your deck, you have an infinitely expanding deck, actually. Not just like, because 2 Baleful Bankers is infinite deck, but you can actually get extra and start growing your deck with this guy. So you could be using Cold Light Oracle, but still not fatiguing. So that's just a silly thing to do. But then, yeah, with Myra's Unstable Element, you can draw your whole deck and then refill it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I mean, you'd have to win with what's left in your deck.
Yeah, like it'd be silly to play Myra's Unstable Element when you have 20 cards in your deck, because then you like mill a bunch of them. But
Yeah,
he
yeah.
like, let's say you have 8 cards in your deck, and you have a Myra's Unstable Element, and you still haven't drawn any of your Lab Recruiters. Guess what? When you play Myra's Unstable Element, you will.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even consider that with Lab Recruiter. That is pretty cool. Also, Lab Recruiter. Oh no, that doesn't do anything with Test. Test replays. Test is not battle cries. Test is replaying cards from your opponent's box.
That would be funny. Get this guy into Shutterwalk.
Yeah, right. Just start shutterwalking. That'd be hilarious. I mean, it could happen. You could just steal a shutterwalk somehow.
Yeah, if you get a lucky hallucination. That would be interesting, and then just put 3 Shutterwalks into your deck. Oh, well,
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, I didn't even consider that interaction. That's worth looking at.
he's and it's just like Gang Up is so, it's really cool, but it's like you're spending 2 mana and doing nothing to the board. This
Yeah.
guy gives you 3/2 for 2 mana. It's a pretty good deal.
Definitely.
So I'm pretty happy about him as a card. I think that people are going to find a bunch of different cute ways to use him, but his synergy with Myra's Unstable Element is also really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. That's super neat. And I mean, that's very roguey. It's like just silly.
Rogue AF.
So another mechanic that we've seen are the Omega cards. I think that these are really cool as a whole.
Yeah, I think most of
Um,
them revealed so far haven't been very good, but
I think Omega Defender is potentially good.
I think the best thing about Omega Defender is how he improves Stonehill Defender.
So I mean that's certainly true.
I
I
don't
was
know
gonna
if
say
I'd
like
play him in my deck, but I'd be happy to discover him.
so in a if I had a if I had a grindy version of Quest Warrior, I potentially play this. Then again, I think the grindiest version of Quest Warrior are odd, so you wouldn't be able to run Omega Defender, but you would be able to run Stonehill Defender.
So Omega Defender is a 4 mana 2/6 taunt with Battle Cry. If you have 10 mana crystals, gain 10 attack, and all of there's a whole cycle of Omega minions. Omega Defender is neutral, and it looks like in addition to at least this one neutral guy, they're giving one to each class. So he's a 4 mana 2/6 taunt, so he's a Stegodon. Unless you have 10 mana crystals, and then he's a 12/6.
Yeah, I mean, so Stegonon's not the best 4 mana play. So like is this card's probably at its worst on turn 9.
Yeah,
But
it's not the worst turn 4 play.
no, yeah, it's like it's an okay turn 4 play. It's like a mediocre arena turn 4 play. But on turn 10 and later, this is nice. And I think that like in general, having lower cost cards that get better in the late game is something that is worth paying attention to. Like one of the worst parts about 1-drops, for example, is that sometimes you draw your 1-drop on turn 8.
Mm-hmm.
So usually if you have 1-drops in your deck, they're either like good at all stages of the game, or you just stuff your deck with them so that you always have them on turn 1 and 2 and 3. But like, so cards like Omega allow you to, the Omega mechanic is potentially allows you to run a card that would be good early, but then is also good later.
Yeah.
Another really good example, have you seen the Warrior Omega Assembly?
Yeah, so that's one of the ones that I like.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. So it's 1 mana Discover a Mech. So we've seen 1 mana Discover cards. They tend to be okay. If you have 10 mana crystals, you keep all 3 cards.
Might if I roll need.
So this is just effectively 1 mana add 3 random mechs to your hand at 10 mana crystals, which is awesome because then you have 9 mana to play them.
That is always, oh yeah, getting 3 cards from 1 is great. It's especially good potentially in a warrior deck that's trying to avoid fatiguing. This is just creating them and not drawing them. And
Yeah,
there's
true.
like clearly a lot of, they went really hard to the mech synergy with magnetic, so there's going to be a lot of them. There's also a card we have not gotten to talk about yet, Dr. Boom Planeswalker.
That's so sweet.
Also known as Dr. Boom Mad Genius. So I guess we're dipping away from the Omega cards for a moment, but that's okay.
That's fine.
This is a 7 mana hero card with 7 armor. So this is the first time a hero card does not have 5 armor, but I think they're just going for the sevens. You know, he's Dr. 7. So I think the fact that that's the way they designed the card is awesome. And the battle cry is for the rest of the game, your mechs have rush. So that's one reason to care about mechs in Warrior. And one reason why that Omega Assembly card could be pretty sweet. But there's also a new hero power. I'm trying to fit it. It does a bunch of different stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so at the beginning of your opponent's turn, you get 1 of 5 random hero powers. They all cost 2. One of them summons 3 1/1 microbots, which I think are just neutral 1/1s that are mechs. Another one is 3 damage to any target. Another one is 7 armor. Another one is 1 damage to all enemies. And the last one is Discover a Mech.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
cool.
your opponent will see what hero power you're going to have on your turn. But, I mean, 2 mana for 7 armor is pretty freaking nasty.
So what could you walk me through how this works? So do you have to like activate this and then you have to pay 4 mana to get a hero power, or are you just paying 2 and it rolls every turn? How does this work?
After you play Dr. Boom, your hero power is replaced with the big red button. I don't know if you're not allowed to activate it the turn he comes out or not. Um, but um, like if you have 9 or 10 mana, I'm not sure if you actually have a hero power to activate. I think it might be blank, but that would be pretty silly. But it's gonna give you one of 5 random hero powers.
Oh, but you get to see which it is.
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
the effect isn't random after you activate it. You get to see beforehand.
That'd be super hype, but it's awesome that it's not. That's
Yeah, this is really funny.
better. Yeah, I mean this seems really cool. Also, it gives your mechs rush, so that makes Omega Assembly better.
That is true. And Micro Squad, the hero power that summons 1/1 microbots.
Yeah, I mean the 1/1s with rush, like 3 of them, that's pretty substantial.
It's like almost like way better than dealing 3 damage to one target.
Yeah, this is nice because you can get a lot of incremental value out of this hero power. Like, I think one thing that like Garrosh lacked is it kind of like didn't have a home. You know, it's an 8 mana card, so you want to play it in a late game deck, but the late game warrior decks are all focused around like not dying and gaining armor, and this card denies you the ability to do that for the rest of the game. This one seems like it could fit into a more proactive minion based strategy because like you just get value out of this card, much like the Druid Death Knight. You know, every turn you can just get something awesome out of this.
Yeah, the only one that can maybe be missed is the 1 damage to all enemy things if they don't have a board. But like if they don't have a board, you're probably winning. So
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not really too huge a concern, and like also you're dealing some face damage. It seems like some of these are more powerful than others, obviously, but like I think it's nice that the hero power is unconditional on this card because the best hero powers are the ones that just give you value at any stage of the game, and that like you can use them whenever you have spare mana because then they allow you to sort of keep up on tempo and fill out your curve a bit. And this seems like it's in that camp, whereas Garrosh was not.
yeah, and you can just use both. Depending on like if you're playing against Odd Paladin, you would want Garrosh's hero power for the rest of the game, and if you're playing against like Control Mage, you would want Boom's hero power for the rest of the game, so you can decide which one you want to play first and which one you want to play second.
Potentially,
and
yeah. I mean, depending on your matchup.
The weapon from Garrosh is unreal. Like
it is really, really.
I would happily Garrosh turn 8 and then Dr. Boom turn 9 and just keep the weapon and drop Garrosh off at school.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it looks really cool. The Dr. Boom is...
Yeah, it's definitely neat. I would say that it actually does look strong. Once again, it's going to depend on like the mechs that they print, but I think it would be unfair to say it's bad at this point. We don't have enough information, and I think a lot of those hero powers are really good.
Yeah, I'm not willing to call this card bad. Not right now. I mean, we have to see what more is there. But I think even without the mechs, this card is decent. So that's pretty cool. But I guess it depends how many of the hero powers feel like misses. I think that's like a really big part of it.
That'll also depend on the meta.
Yes, exactly.
So the Omega guys, like Omega Defender, my problem with it is that like you were talking about how it's cool if your 1 mana play can be good late game, but like this isn't a good turn 4 play. And
yeah, that
like it's almost not even a good turn 10 play. Like you turn 10, you do this, your opponent's like gonna be like, all right, I'll trade my 6/4 into it and kill you or something.
Right.
It's kind of clunky. Whereas the Omega Assembly, you could really benefit from a mech early on, possibly, and then turn 10, if you top deck this, instead of being pissed off, you'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, you're really stoked. I mean, another good one, another one that's sort of a little bit more in that camp of being good early and then good late is Omega Medic, the priest one.
Yeah, this one I'm also not crazy about.
I mean, 3 mana 3/4 is a good stat line. Like, people were running Talon Priest for a while, and I think that card's like medium.
Yeah, but what it does, if it does its thing, is actually really awesome.
Wait, not Talon Priest, the one with the Death Rattle. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Occultist?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Talon Priest is great. The Cultist is medium.
Yeah, you know what? I guess I forgot that Talon Priest isn't even legal anymore.
Yeah, it's not.
But my problem with the Medic is that if you need 10 health, it's usually like turn 5 or 6. you know.
Yeah, that is a really good point. Is that part of the reason why Reno was so amazing is because it could save you from getting beaten down, whereas the meta cannot. But I still think having a 3 mana 3/4 in your deck is like if you care about early tempo, that's awesome. You're happy to have that, and this can actually get you back some resources that you might have lost later in the game, like incidentally. So it might not be an amazing 10 mana play or amazing turn 10 play, but it definitely does do a fair amount.
Yeah, no, the fact that its stats are so nice, 3 mana 3/4, gives me hope.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, my favorite thing about it is the art. I cannot get over how badass that goblin looks.
It's pretty sweet. Also, I mean, this is yet another way to deny your opponent's Alexstrasza.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, I don't think there's a shortage of those types of effects these days, but still, this is I think it has some potential.
Oh,
But the warrior one is the one I'm the most favorite. I sort of most favorite right now.
yeah, I'm excited to see what. Me too, for sure. But I want to see what Druid gets because Druid just seems like the best class for
In
these
Hearthstone,
cards.
yeah. Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
yeah, that's the Hearthstone. But these, it doesn't say turn 10, it says 10 mana crystals.
Yes,
But
yeah.
there's exactly one class that can accelerate its mana crystals.
Uh-huh.
So it would be able to just do. Not only could it Omega Defender sooner, but Omega Defender feels like a lot less of a terrible play if you Oaken Summons it out.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
So I think if Omega Defender would be in a main deck, maybe Druid, but um, Druid's getting Biology Project.
Oh yeah, the projects. So these are symmetric effects. Biology Project is 1 mana. Each player gains 2 mana crystals. Very interesting.
Seems insane to me.
Like good?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,